Since the beginning of the pandemic, almost everyone in the world has been on lockdown at some point, and to this day, some people still are. On a day-to-day basis, our interactions are minimized as to not cause harm to others. But one interaction has undoubtedly increased: deliveries. Countless people have joined the ranks of companies like Amazon to offset their income and meet the needs of millions of people around the world. In 2021, more than ever, it seems we can have anything delivered, but there's a certain mystery to it for both parties. On one hand, you're waiting eagerly for your package, while a complete stranger delivers a package with unknown contents to the door of an address they know nothing about and have never met the occupants. In truth, it all seems very mundane, but what if it wasn't? What if the opening of that front door was more than just a transaction? What if it was a doorway to something else? Hi, I'm your host Z-Man, and welcome back to The Stash. Today we'll be talking spoiler-free about Chilla's Art's latest indie horror experience, Night Delivery. Chilla's Art is becoming prolific at this point. 3 releases in 6 months with, in my opinion, no loss of quality at all and no signs of stopping. If you watched my video on The Caregiver, you'll know I'm a big fan of their overall aesthetic. The grainy VHS overlay, the heavy J-horror influence, and the loosely coined comfort horror are all on display in this latest release. Chilla's Art seems very interested in exploring the darker aspects of everyday life, like the shadow in the corner of an otherwise lit room, and I'm very into it. That being said, this is distinctly a J-horror title, so if that's not a genre you enjoy, this may not be the game for you. But stick around, and I might change your mind. Night Delivery starts simple enough. You're a delivery courier with 5 packages left to deliver to a single 5-floor block of apartments, and then you're done for the day. Your 5 packages are strewn about the back of your truck, and it's your choice to deliver them in whatever order you please. The atmosphere is oppressively dark. I even had to turn up my brightness slightly just to navigate the alleys a bit better. The VHS retro aesthetic overlay has a subtle graininess with a rolling tube television effect that I really like. Controls are very simple, and the rotating item menu makes it easy to keep track of your packages. You'll spend the first act of the experience navigating which packages belong to different apartments, all while meeting a very eclectic cast of characters. All the while, subtle hints are interspersed throughout the evening that there's something off about this block of apartments, as well as its residents. Each interaction is just long enough to set the tone of this strained relationship between complete strangers and begins to build a narrative web that implies everyone is a bit on edge, and not because a courier is ringing their doorbell after sunset. One resident, Kohi, seems to have possibly moved in recently to the ire of the other residents. Through fetch puzzles, we can see letters sent by his mother that describe Kohi's situation and why he may not be the most popular. He's withdrawn, pessimistic, socially inept, and on disability for his mental health. Saying much more than that would start to tread into spoiler territory. The game finally reveals his side of things in the second act, in a series of journal entries cleverly unlocked through a really fun little ladder puzzle around the complex, which I really enjoyed. It calls into question whether or not the people's disdain for him is warranted, and what part our silent protagonist has to play in all this. The metaphorical elements turned physical really nail home Kohi's mental state. The latter is constantly feeling like his climb to socialization and the crude walls that people erected to block him. All the while, we are surrounded in an atmosphere of choking darkness and Chilla's excellent use of silence, with only atmospheric sound effects constantly building tension and making you look over your shoulder, only to be hit with music when it's absolutely necessary. This works to a chilling effect. Before I go on, I want to say a little disclaimer. Towards the climax, Night Delivery delves into some pretty dark topics involving mental health, self-harm, and violence. These are pretty standard elements in J-horror, but there are some very violent images depicted in the third act. Though they are done very artistically, they could definitely be disturbing to those who aren't prepared, so consider this your warning. I won't say much more than that, as the third act is filled to the brim with spoilers, and depending how you've been playing through the story, your experience will diverge into one of two endings. What I will say, however, is that both endings left me pretty confused. Not in a bad way per se, but confused nonetheless. I was left feeling I had missed details, and even on my second playthrough found myself asking more questions than I was given answers for. In a way, I felt it reinforced the relationship of an anonymous courier caught in a web they didn't mean to step into, but also called into question whether or not I was playing as an unreliable narrator. I was left wanting more, but that's not always a bad thing. If you have some thoughts of your own on the topic, I'd love to discuss it in the comments. Night Delivery comes in at about a 1 to 2 hour runtime depending on the player and the level of exploration you engage in. It's primarily a walking simulator, but overall it's an excellent experience. So next time you're waiting on a package, I suggest turning down the lights, closing the blinds, and downloading Night Delivery to pass the time. It's a brilliant dive into the horror of a mundane experience we all overlook. I promise, you won't be disappointed. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, please consider subscribing to the channel. We put out new reviews every Friday. And if you'd like to come hang with me and watch me play some of these spooky games, head on over to twitch.tv/zmanstache. Z-Man, S-T-A-C-H-E. Stay spooky, and I'll see you soon.